Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you're doing well this Friday lunchtime. Welcome to another TEFL.org webinar on our Facebook page. My name is Carl. It's lovely to have you with us this Friday lunchtime. Are you here because you want to become a TEFL teacher? Hopefully, because we are the people that can help you. And I am here to answer any questions you might have about it. So, the general theme of today's webinar is teaching in Europe, but actually it's really just an open-ended question and answer session. So anything at all that you have questions about in the field of TEFL, it could be Asia, could be going to South America, it could be teaching online, could be what to do with your first job application, anything at all, I'm here to answer for you because I've been teaching for about 15 to 20 years now. I've had a variety of roles within the TEFL, the TEFL sector, been teaching. I've been teacher training, examining. I teach online. I teach for universities. I've taught in big chunks of Asia, Europe, Middle East a little bit. So please, any questions, hopefully I'll be able to answer them. Or if not, my good friend Alan, who's monitoring the chat, will be. So I can see some hellos there. Please say hello. Hi, Eddie. Good morning from Chile. Oh, lovely. What a beautiful part of the world. I hope you're doing well today, Santiago, Eddie Santiago. Anybody else out there, please say hello. Let me know you're out there and where you are in the world. There will be a virtual prize, the virtual prize being me saying congratulations for the person that's come the furthest. But I don't think anyone can go further than Chile from Northern Ireland, where I am now. So let's talk a bit about Europe. So Europe is obviously quite a varied region in terms of many different things. The languages spoken, the economies of these countries, the English ability of the countries as well, and why they want to learn English. Okay, so I can see all the hellos coming in. Hello, Jenna. Hello, Judith. Hello, Lynn. Hello, Ben from Bangkok. I think Chile's further than Bangkok. Lynn, if you're in Belfast, you're probably about a 20-minute drive for me. So Europe, basically, it's sort of, you have to kind of think of it in sort of regions of Europe, I think. So you've got sort of Eastern Europe. And I know there's a lot involved in Eastern Europe, and within Eastern Europe, there's lots of differences. Then you've sort of got Central Europe, which sort of is France, Belgium, Holland, Germany, all this kind of thing. And then maybe you've got sort of the southern parts of Europe, which might include Greece, might include Spain, Portugal, Italy. And then obviously there's the north of Europe, but there's not many TEFL opportunities in the north of Europe. Okay, so that's sort of Scandinavia. Plus, I'm also going to throw in there the UK, because at the moment we're part of the EU. And in my mind, we're always going to be part of the EU. I don't care what anything happens. So let's firstly start with Central Europe, because that is one of the regions where, so I'm talking France, Germany, Belgium, Amsterdam. Okay, it's one of the regions where there's not a huge TEFL availability for teachers. So if you are thinking of teaching in Europe, Germany, Holland, Belgium, they don't really have that many jobs available to people, okay, who want to become TEFL teachers. Why? Because they tend to be quite good at languages. You know, most Germans that I've ever met can speak a very good level of English. Same with a lot of Dutch people, people from Belgium as well. France maybe less so, but there isn't the urge to learn English that there is in Southern Europe or Eastern Europe, for example, mainly because the French government doesn't really love people studying English to a high level so much. They like to preserve the French language, all that kind of thing. So that's why if you're looking to go France, Germany, that kind of region, it's a little bit more difficult to get in there as a TEFL teacher. Now, that doesn't mean there's not TEFL jobs available. There are, but you don't tend to see them advertised outside of those countries. So the best way to go and get work in these countries is generally to fly there find some language schools and get yourself some work in there while you're out there, or you've got to do the legwork yourself and find the language schools online and then apply to them. Okay. And I can see more hellos. Please, any questions you've got? Eileen, hello in Bolton. Julia in Portugal. Julieta in Spain, hello. Monem, lovely. I love that name. What a lovely name. Bridget in Zimbabwe, hi again. Claudia, Italy. Susan, Bulgaria. Monem is in Cambridge. And Ian from Reading. Good. Okay. So any questions? I can see them coming in. I'll get some in a minute. Right. So Central Europe is difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. There's not the huge range of language schools that there are in Southern Europe or Eastern Europe, for example. Okay. Scandinavia is also a little bit difficult. You know, a lot of Scandinavians that I meet speak really good English already. They have a good English language learning system at school, and that tends to get them through. So they don't need to pay for extra lessons. Now, that does mean that you could go and work in one of the schools, but that is very hard to get into. You might need some very specialized qualifications there. So that's Scandinavia and Central Europe covered, okay? There's some questions coming up. Hello, Ross. Wow. Soon I start my first teaching job in St. Petersburg, Russia. What advice would you give about teaching in different cultures? What should I be careful of? Another question. Right, let's get to that other one, which has just gone off screen. I'll have to read that at the side there. Ross. Right, what advice would I give about teaching different cultures? Okay. Right. I think for me personally, you've got to be true to yourself. Don't feel like you can, you have to completely change the way that you teach or the way that you act in a classroom to fit in with whatever culture it is that you're going into, whether it's, they tend to be a bit more reserved, the teachers, or they tend to be a bit strict, or that kind of thing. Be true to yourself. Keep that how you want to teach and how you want to be a teacher. Do you want to be a exciting, fun, laugh a minute teacher, or do you want to be a little bit more serious, that kind of thing? Keep that in you and make sure that that still comes out. Okay. How I tend to find, and I've taught in many different cultures from East Asia, Central Asia, Europe, Middle East, that kind of thing. I tend to go in the first few lessons and try and be a little bit like the culture is. So, you know, don't go in like this big, loud guy, which is my teacher style, what I like, right from the start. Try to ease yourself into it. Start off friendly. Make sure you've got lots of talking activities to get them going, get them speaking in the first few lessons. Okay, that sets the tone for that. Then the only big problem you might have is if you're going to teach business English, Ross. If you're going to go teach business English, then you tend to have to get into, then you tend to have to sort of fit into the business culture. They don't really want any sort of craziness in if you have to go to a company. So business, you have to sort of fit into them. But I think generally, don't try and change yourself massively to fit into different cultures. Okay. What should you be careful of? Hierarchies in classes can be a big thing. So you might, in business English, you might find that people always cede to their manager. They don't like to answer a question. They let the manager go first, that kind of thing. In kids classes, boys tend to take over, that kind of thing. You got to be careful of that. None of this is massively culturally different. Okay. The one cultural problem I've had is some parts where there are religious tensions. And that is something you've got to be aware of. I did live in a country where one religion the students, the young kids didn't want to be partnered with someone of a different religion. They didn't want to be within their own religion. I personally didn't have anything of that. So I just put them all together and I kept that going from the start. I'm just going to read your other question. Another question I have is for new teachers. Is it important to study a lot of grammar before starting your first role? Thank you. And you're enjoying the stream. That's good to hear. Right, Ross. Right. Grammar, when you start, basically just teach yourself as you go along. Don't sit down with your nice grammar book and think, right, today I'm going to learn all of the grammars. Grammars, I don't know. Is that accountable, uncountable? Who knows? Think, okay, the best way to do it is to think, right, okay, this week I'm going to be teaching the present perfect simple, the past simple, and I'm going to be teaching the third conditional in my classes. Stick to those three, take them one by one, and then sort of teach yourself as you go. You do not need to know lots of grammar. I still, after 15, 20 years, get caught up every now and again on grammar questions. You don't need to know it all. And if a student asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, you just say to them, I'm sorry, that's a lovely question. Thank you. But today we're studying the present perfect. Simple. We're not studying the present perfect continuous, or we're not studying that form that you've just spoken to me. We'll do that in a couple of weeks. We'll do that in the next lesson. Meanwhile, you set them a little activity and you run straight to your computer and you look it up yourself. Okay. Just stick to the grammar point you're teaching straight away. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope so, Ross. Emma, hello. Hi, everyone. Keep them coming. Carl, thank you for the extra letters. I don't know if you're shouting at me or you're angry at me or you're happy with me, Emma. I have my first online student on Preply and I don't have a headset. About to click buy on Empower One's 30 quid. Do you think that'll be okay? Hope you're well. Haha. I think people can overthink the headsets, to be honest, Emma. I've never heard of any that one that you're talking about. This one that I usually use for my online teaching was a Logitech 20 quid one, I think. You can see it starting to fall apart there. Has done me really well after 5 years. I don't think you need to spend that much. 20, 30 quid sounds perfect, Emma. Don't spend too much. And look at the Amazon reviews. That's all I got for you. Sorry, Emma, I'm not a techie guy like that. Nick, hello. Eddie, what about the opportunities of teaching in the United States after being certified? So, Eddie, are you in the United States now? Because the number one problem with the States is visa. And this is something for Americans coming to Europe. I'm going to get to that in a bit, okay? It's very difficult to get a visa for the United States. You've got, I think there's that green card lottery type thing, but beyond that, it's quite difficult to get one. Okay. So if you're outside the States, it's difficult to get jobs in the States. Okay. That's my feeling on it. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody's got any tips on this? Okay. If you're in the States, perfect. There's lots and lots of language schools in the big cities around the States. I have a good friend who runs a school in New York and who gets lots of students coming through there, is always looking for good quality, happy, friendly teachers. So anywhere where there's a big town, big city, and in the States, there are tons. Yeah. I mean, how many big cities, where it's a little bit multicultural, where you've got people that are coming in, immigrants, that kind of thing. There is work. You will definitely find work out there, Eddie. Definitely lots and lots of work out there. Okay, good. Claudia, hello. Which advice would you give to a non-native TEFL teacher? Lovely question. The first piece of advice I would give to you, Claudia, is think about how did you learn your own languages? So, I mean, you're obviously, I'm sure, fantastic at English. Think about how you learn English yourself. What was good about it? What was not so good about it? You have that experience that me, with my very terrible, I cheated actually a little bit, GCSE German, which I can't remember a word of it. I don't have that language learning experience. Okay. You, as someone who's learned English to a great level, knows what worked for you, what was good for you, what you needed more of, what would you have liked more of, what was good, what was bad, and get that into your teaching. Use that experience, because what was good for you is probably good for another person. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Right. So that's the first piece of advice. Right. The next piece of advice, if you're applying for jobs and you're non-native and you might be getting knocked back a little bit, my thing is to keep persisting with this. Okay, you will find some work somewhere. Okay, might not come quickly if you're a non-native speaker, like maybe unfortunately someone from the UK, Australia, America might have, but you will find work. Okay, so just keep at it, keep applying, make sure that your application is good, try and get, make sure that your pronunciation is perfect in any sort of videos you're doing, anything like that, because unfortunately recruiters will pick up on that. Okay, so just keep applying. You will get something, I'm sure. Once you're in the classroom, I think, as I said, go back to your own experiences and just think what was good, what was bad, and go with that, and your students, I'm sure, will like you. Okay, good. Ben, hello. Simple question. I like it. You've gone right in there. 120-hour course or 160 level 5 course. Good question. Right. The 120-hour course will get you work. It's what recruiters, it's what schools look for. They look for someone with a 120-hour TEFL certificate. So that is why the 120 hours is there. Okay, go, and if that is plenty enough for you, but you might want to stand out a little bit more in your applications. You might also see some jobs that actually require a level 5 160-hour course. So 120 is enough. But if you've got two applicants, one has 160, one has 120, and they're both similar, they've got similar levels of experience, which one would you go for? Okay, you'd probably take on the person in the 160-hour course. But saying that, you don't have to go for the 160. The 120 will be enough, I'm sure. And then what you might want to do is add on some more specialized modules on top of the 120-hour course. Okay, hope that answers your question, Ben. Carlos, hello. How can I get the training in Spain? How long will it take to get trained? Okay, so you want to be a TEFL teacher in Spain, Carlos. Great name, by the way. I'm Carl. Right, so I think, and Alan will have to help me, I don't think the Madrid teacher training weekends are going at the moment with TEFL.org, are they? I don't think. So what you need to do is do the 120-hour course first of all. That is fully online. So you could start that tonight. You could take a few weeks to do it. You could take a couple of months to do it. People work at different paces through our courses. Once you've got that 120 hours, you've got that certification. There you go. You're done. Okay. Then you might want to add on to that the practical course in Madrid. Once that's up and running, or you could do one of our online practical courses where you're face to face with an instructor like me over a weekend, something like that. They're also listed on our website. Okay. So how long will it take to get trained? Depends on you, how quickly you can go through the course, the 120-hour course. Okay. Loving these questions, everyone. Thank you. I am going to come back to Europe. I can see a question on Europe. I'm going to get to that in a minute, Judith. Mikey, hello. Do you know if there's demand to be a TEFL teacher in Turkey? Okay. Also, I just finished my level 560 hours course. I wonder what my next step should be. You have a degree as well. Right, lovely. You've got a degree. Perfect. That's a good starting point. And you've got the level 5. Okay. And anybody that can't see, the last bits underneath it are, should I do more courses? I think more classes. I think that's fine for you, Mikey. I don't think you need to start looking at doing more courses after that. I think you've got a good level there to start applying for jobs and going in there. Turkey. Right. I have a very good friend in Turkey who I taught with in Vietnam, and she has lived there for a good 4 or 5 years. Right. Turkey, from what I hear, is there are opportunities in the Istanbul, Ankara, okay, for university teaching and also for language school teaching. What I've heard, Mikey, and from people, I wasn't going to cover Turkey today, but from what I've heard is that it can be quite badly paid, and you can sort of struggle to keep your head above water financially. That's what I've heard about Turkey. So it does depend on you and your lifestyle. But, Istanbul can be quite an expensive city to rent in the beautiful, I love Istanbul, in the city center. So just be a bit careful on the financial side. Do make sure your budgeting's going okay, Mike. But there are opportunities out there for sure. Okay. Good. Judith, hello. What are the opportunities for TEFL in Southern Europe? Okay. Right. Great. Thank you. So I covered Central Europe, right, about 15 minutes ago. Let's talk about Southern Europe. Probably your biggest market in Europe, I think. Now, Eastern Europe as well, but Southern Europe, definitely. So, for example, in Spain, I do a lot of work examining in Spain. I go to Spain before COVID quite a lot throughout the year. And the amount of different language schools I see in lots of different towns, and I'm talking towns, so quite small towns, as well as the big major cities. There are plenty of language schools in Southern Europe, especially in Spain. And the reason being is because there's a lot of rules in Spain in certain parts, especially Andalusia, where people have to have the equivalent of about an A level in English or any other European language, but they all choose Europe. Sorry, they all choose English to pass their degree or to maybe get their contract renewed if they're in a public job. Okay, so there's a big demand in Southern Europe to learn English to a certain level. Because of that, there's plenty of jobs. So think first, if you want to go work in Spain, think first of all, what region of Spain do you like the look of? Barcelona, amazing, fantastic city, expensive. Lots of people want to work there, can be quite hard to get jobs, can be quite hard to get a lot of hours, can be quite hard to rent a flat. Somewhere a bit more like Valencia, a lovely city as well, might be a little bit more open to you. There might be less people wanting to flock there, might be a bit more work there for you. Maybe think of that. Malaga is a lovely city. The city centre is lovely. Forget about the Brits abroad either side of Malaga on the map. You know, think about that. Almeria down the coast, beautiful place. Madrid in the centre. You know, there's loads of different cities in Spain with all of their different characteristics. Think about where you want to go. Then I would, if you're in the UK, look up online, look on Google, send out your CV, send out some details, you know, send some emails to the schools that are there, see if they're hiring. Or you will find a lot of language schools in Europe, in Spain, will advertise online. You can find work through that. Okay, so that's Spain. Portugal, slightly less. There's less sort of legal requirements. Legal's the wrong word, but like requirements to get a certain certification in order to advance with your job. So but there are language schools in the city centres in Portugal. Italy is slightly different. There's more jobs sort of at the younger end. So there's lots of work in schools, in primary schools, senior schools, that kind of thing that you might be able to get involved in with your TEFL certification. Again, they'll either advertise online, but probably the best way is, again, to think, where do I want to live in Italy? Start applying there. I hope that answers your question, Judith. Hello. So the other country to think about in Southern Europe probably is Greece. Lots of opportunities to teach in Athens. There's lots of different language schools in Athens. Also Malta as well. So I forgot about Malta. There's opportunities in different language schools in Malta. Again, don't necessarily advertise before that much, and you will probably have to try and find your own work. But once you're there, not badly paid, quite nice students, beautiful way of life, great place to live. Okay. Things to be aware of with Europe is that the companies won't generally, not now, the ones that you see advertised, they might, but they generally don't pay your flights from the UK or pay your flights from another part of the world to get there. Okay. You sort of have to do that yourself. An EasyJet flight or a Ryanair flight, something like that. They probably won't help you out with accommodation. They might help you out the first couple of days you arrive, but they probably won't pay for your accommodation. So that's something you need to work out. However, Europe has a lot more options in terms of accommodation than maybe Asia does. There's a lot more, for example, flat shares available. You know, you can see in sort of couch surfing, that kind of thing. People advertise sort of rooms to share, Gumtree, this kind of, not rooms to share, flats to share. That's the sort of thing that you can get a bit more involved in. So you might need to book yourself a hotel for 3 or 4 days and try and madly search for a flat once you're there. Okay. Hope that answers your question, everybody. Just gonna have a quick drink here. Sorry. Hello, Monum. Sorry. Any tips to help promoting and marketing ourselves, please? Monum, look at that very official picture you've got there. I feel very underdressed now. Right, promoting and marketing yourselves. If you're looking to set yourself up as your own teacher, not going to work for a center, either online or even as a one-to-one teacher, maybe in a town or city where you live, I think the most important thing is to find your niche. By niche, I mean the part of English that you want to teach the most. So, for example, do you want to be Monum, the business English teacher who's fantastic at helping you nail that presentation? Or are you having trouble with your email correspondence? I'm Monum. I can help you do that. Why does do that? Because if the narrower your niche, the easier it is to pay for advertising and to get the people into your marketing funnel that will allow you to try and get live lessons out of them. So My number one tip is to get a niche. Don't be Monem, the English teacher. Be Monem, the business English teacher. And then try and get it even narrower than that if you can. That way it helps you with your advertising. And that's where you'll just be known more for word of mouth. Also, it reduces the amount of prep you need to do. Hope that helps you, Monem. Susan, hello. You're doing your TEFL course with a view to teaching English in Bulgaria. Obviously, the student's native language is vastly different to English, vastly. You're learning Bulgarian, but knowledge is still basic. What level of the student's native language do you feel is advice? Right, Susan, I get asked this all the time. And my dad, who obviously I've known all my life, still asks me this question, even after I've been teaching almost 20 years, okay? I've arrived in so many countries without knowing a single word of the language. Vietnam, first abroad teaching job, didn't know a word of Vietnamese. A year later, all I could do was do left, right for the cab. That's all I learned. Terrible, I know, but that was me. Japan was slightly different. I wanted to learn a bit of Japanese. My Chinese, no matter how much I tried, was horrendous. No one ever understood me. I knew no Arabic. I still know no Arabic from my time living in Iraq. I lived in Azerbaijan. Don't know a word of Azerbaijani. You really don't need to know a good level of the student's native language to teach them. You do not. Trust me, you do not. You just need to taper your own language. So if they're beginners, you talk a little bit more slowly. You might emphasize certain words a bit more to help them. You would get them to do more words instead of sentences. What's this? What's this? You just lower your level yourself. Okay, Susan, you don't need to know to teach them. And in fact, 99.9% of the time, they don't want you to speak their language in the lesson. Okay. Now, you yourself to get around the town, that might be different. Okay. You might want to get a bit of Bulgarian just to help you around in the pubs, that kind of thing. But to actually be into the classroom, you don't. Okay. Marafidi, hello. Spoke to the British school director here in Rome, Italy. She claims enrollments are down due to COVID-19 and its effects on the economy. Do you have any information on the effect of the pandemic on Southern Europeans studying English? Right, well, that's a strange one. I obviously with I don't know that British school whether they're a kids school or are they an adult school, Marafidi? I don't know. Right, I know of people that passed our course just before lockdown. So I do the practical courses here in Belfast. Just before lockdown, they passed the course and then they kind of got stuck because then they couldn't go and work anywhere because of lockdown. They sort of went online, that kind of thing. A couple of them have now just recently got jobs in Spain. So they kept in touch with the people that offered them the job back in March, February, whatever it was. And now they're getting the chance to go there because I'm hearing that schools are opening up there. And I think a bit like in the UK, it's a bit more regional. So, you know, Malaga might be closed down this weekend or the next couple of weeks, but I don't know. Seville might be open. All right. Italy, I must admit, I'm not quite sure what they're doing in Italy about the local lockdowns, that kind of thing. But that's what I hear. So I think it does sort of vary by region. But I know that there are jobs out there at the moment, and I know people that are going over there. Okay, I hope that answers you. Martine, hello. Martin or Martine, I don't know. I've recently passed my 160-hour course, but I'm struggling to find work. I was told that there's currently a saturated market and that even experienced teachers are finding it difficult. Have opportunities been affected by COVID? You're looking for online teaching. Right. Okay, Martin, there are still companies advertising. That's what I would say. Yeah. If you are struggling, you've got to, I would sort of think a little bit about how's your application going, Martin? You know, because I know people that have done our courses and have set themselves up online in the last sort of few weeks. Okay. Are you sure your application is good and you're sort of happy with it? If you're having trouble, message the Facebook page and they'll pass it on to me, and I'm happy to have a look at any sort of application that you might have quickly to help you. Okay, Martin. So think about that. Okay. Yes, a lot of people have got into online teaching. If that is you, then what you might need to think about is setting yourself up as an independent teacher a bit more. So that means going italki, for example, I think it is, where you can set yourself up as a teacher. You can set your own personal rate, and then the students come to you. The website takes a cut, but you don't go and work for a recruiter. Can you go down that route, Martine, to help you get students? Okay, so setting yourself up yourself. I did some lovely webinars a few weeks ago. Well, I thought they were lovely. People might have disagreed, about how to set yourself up as an independent online teacher. Go back on this Facebook page and look at past ones. This is probably about a month ago now, I reckon. Alan, I'm not quite sure when we did those. But if you go back and have a look, you will see how I sort of give some advice on setting yourself up as your own online teacher. But I would think from, keep an eye on your application. Are you, if you've applied to every single school out there and you've not got anything back, then I think just have a look. Just make sure that you've nailed it. You're doing well. Okay. What you'll tend to be given is a textbook, or to be given the materials. And from those materials, you have to make your own lesson plan. I have never worked anywhere, Ben, where they've not given me materials. Now, when I say never, there has been a couple of schools when I've been managing them where I've had to make up the materials myself. But everybody I know that's newly qualified has been given materials, either a textbook to work their way through, or some sort of printed materials that someone's designed themselves in the school, whatever it is. And from that, you would have to make your lesson plan. Hardly ever do I get a 5-minute plan in what you're going to do. So that's why you do the course. That's why you train yourself up in order to do that. Okay. Online, I find that it's slightly different. Quite often online, schools do give you a lesson plan that they want you to do, a recruiter. Okay. So just be, they tend to be like, do this, show this. That's what I find online. There are exceptions, of course, but I find that online you get given lesson plans, whereas in a school you go work physically in school, you tend not to. You get given just the resources. And to be honest, that's the best way, because you want to be able to adapt the materials to how you see fit and what you think is good for your students. Lovely. Okay, thank you. No worries, Susan. Maria, hi. Do you have any tips for working in Eastern Europe? Thank you for getting me back to the subject of today's webinar, which is Europe. So Eastern Europe. So I've covered Central Scandinavia and I've covered Southern Europe. So I think East is probably all that's left, maybe, unless there's some. Oh, the UK. I was going to talk a bit about the UK. I might, if I've got time, talk about that. Eastern Europe. So obviously, there's quite big markets in certain places where where people sort of tend to move. So, like for example, Poland. I'm from Southeast England. I know a lot of Polish people. I have some very good Polish friends who have moved from Poland to England. They tend to want to learn a bit before in Eastern Europe. Before they go to the UK, they tend to want to learn. So there's lots of language schools in parts of Poland. Okay. There's also lots of language schools in, I think Bulgaria has quite a good number of language schools. They tend to be the two biggest countries that I can think of really that do have a big number of language schools. You do find that I've seen lots of adverts for Eastern European schools already online. Okay, so you'll see adverts on ESL Cafe, TEFL.com, TEFL.org, this kind of thing, for adverts for people to fly over and go and do that. Okay. But I think probably still the number one way to do it is to book yourself a cheap EasyJet or Ryanair flight, book yourself a bit of accommodation, have a nice little trip, just have a bit of cash behind you, fly out there and just try and get some work doing. Or look online first, email schools, see if they're open, check if they've got work available, tell them you're going to be arriving soon, or can we have a Skype interview, blah, blah, blah. Will they be able to get some work? That's the kind of thing you want to do. Europe is different from Asia in terms of the teachers have to do a little bit more of the legwork, I find. Okay. Asia, there's a lot more adverts out there, whereas in Europe, there's the work, but you have to sort of go find the work yourself. Okay. I hope that answers your question, but definitely Poland, Bulgaria, that kind of thing. There's work there available. Okay. Get online, look on Google, get to a big city. So for example, type in language, English teaching centers, something like that, or English language learning in Warsaw. Yes, Sofia, whatever it might be you want to go to, and then see what schools come up and then start to contact them. Okay, I hope that helps you, Maria. No problem, my name. James, hello. Can I ask about opportunities in Ibiza or the French Alps? James, would love to go teach in the French Alps. Have absolutely no experience of teaching in the French Alps. Right. I know a few people that teach in France, and if you are going to go work in the language schools in France, they tend to want quite high qualifications, I find. So they'll want a degree, and they'll want some, and they'll probably also, I've seen adverts where they want a high level of French as well as a native like level of English. The French Alps themselves, I don't know. I can't tell you if there's much work. Okay. The same with Ibiza. There's a lot of, Ibiza's a big tourist city. So there's quite a lot of people there that can already speak pretty good English. Ireland, they speak pretty good English, and they don't tend to, as far as I know, want to learn too much. Okay. However, what you might find, and in France, I probably should have got that people set themselves up as a freelancer and then try and get some work that way, advertise themselves, because you will find in French cities and Spanish tourist places like this that there will be people wanting to learn English, but there might not be a school there to cater for them. So you might have to set yourself up, but you are sort of taking a bit of a chance with that kind of thing, James, I think. Okay. Right. I think I can't see any more questions there, which is fine. Last thing I'm going to finish talking about is in the UK, really, because we are still part of Europe. There's lots of pre-COVID. There was lots and lots of TEFL work in the summer in the UK, and I'm saying in Ireland as well, in Dublin, and Galway. The Cork, the big cities in Ireland. So pre-COVID, there was always a lot of work in the UK around May, June, July, August. And what I tend to find is that a lot of friends I know who teach in Spain, they actually came back in the summer to the UK and taught here, because there wasn't as much work in the summer in Spain as there was in the UK, or they came back to see their family, that kind of thing. So lots of summer schools where students come over from Spain and Italy, and they come to the UK to study in London for 3 weeks, Edinburgh, Belfast, whatever it might be. And there's tend to be work in the summer months in the UK. The rest of the year round, London has a lot of language schools. So you will find that in London, there's a bit of work. Same with Edinburgh, Brighton, you'll find a bit of work. So, but beyond that, there's not a huge amount of guaranteed work all year round. Okay. So, there's not, if you're living in the UK and you want to go down the route of teaching English, the best thing to do is to try and go to a local college, see if they've got some vacancies to teach their ESOL classes, which is for people who are learning English in England. Quite low level classes they tend to be. See if you can get some work through them. They might be able to give you a few hours a week, that kind of thing. You might go work for a couple of the colleges, or you might go work for you also might go work for a local language school, that kind of thing. And then you might do a bit of online teaching to supplement it. So there are opportunities in the UK, just it's quite seasonal, really. If there's no more questions, I hope that was enjoyable for you all, and I hope that I answered any questions you have. I think we covered the whole of Europe there. If you do have any questions, please do message us in our Facebook Messenger page. And I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. We will do another one soon. If you've got any ideas for any subjects you want us to cover, let us know, and we'll just go from there. Cheers, everybody. Thank you. Bye.